I want to show this real quick because I don't know if you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the Tennessee game before we get out of here, but Drew, I highly encourage you because listen, I'm not going to be the Buckeye fan here that tells you Ohio State has some gangbusters on the offensive line. I highly encourage you to go check out how many times Nico has been sacked this year. I highly encourage you to go see how good their O line is and compared to ours. I'm pretty sure he's been sacked 10 plus times more than our quarterback has. But
my hopes for Ohio State winning this game don't hinge on the offense; they hinge on that defense. The defense is still nasty. Since the Oregon game, they have played extremely well. I'm only worried about the opening drive because, as we've seen multiple times throughout the year, they don't do super well with scripted drives. But after that,
actually.
yeah. But after that, they're lights out.
Yeah.
And if Ohio State comes out and they win the toss and they defer and they get a 3-and-out on Tennessee might be in some big trouble because Ohio State, because that stadium is going to be loud. All of a sudden they'll have the momentum. So even if Ohio State's offense doesn't go out and score on that very first drive, Ohio State's the crowd is still going to be pumped up from the defensive stop on the opener.
Yeah.
And teams have not been able to score very well after that opening scripted drive. So, I mean, Ohio State's defense is the key to winning this game, and I think you agree.
Yeah. No, I do agree. And, in my little stat stuffing that I do, I found a very interesting stat that I think you'll like also.
Let's hear it.
There's two of them.
Okay.
Ohio State is the best red zone defense in college football. Tennessee is 79.25% in the red zone.
Yeah.
I think that favors Ohio State. Because usually if a team is over 85, then I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Tennessee should be higher than 79%. And my other one. Tennessee, they average 15.1 third downs per game. That is 19th in the country. And the teams ahead of them are teams like UTSA, just like the bottom
part
two.
of that, I'm going to push back a little bit on that stat.
Let me hear it.
Because part of it is the style of play that their offense has. They are a very up-tempo team. So they try to keep having as many possessions as they can. Mm-hmm. So, they'll work those down. So if they end up having 15 downs a game, that's because they're, if they go 3-and-out, they do it very quickly and then they get the ball back and then they, their possessions can be very quick because of they like to get to the line, they don't huddle a whole lot, and they try to use that tempo against you. That's what Ohio State used to do before the new clock rules came into play, and I'm not really entirely sure why they went away from that, but that's the one thing I would say about that. But Ohio State's third down defense has been pretty good this year also.
Oh, yeah.
So no matter where Tennessee is in third down on the field, it's going to be tough for them to convert. And I truly think Ohio State might be able to rattle Nico enough where he throws, a pick six and Ohio State scores on defense. I would not be shocked to see an Ohio State score on defense. And that score on defense could be the difference between winning and losing this game.
Yeah. No, and Dylan Sampson, 8 fumbles on the season. That's a lot. Yeah. Again, a lot of it probably has to do with the amount of carries he gets. But there are a lot of running backs that get the ball a lot, such as like Ashton Genty or, hell, take Blake Corum for the last few years. They don't really fumble the ball. So I think that's really important. And their linebackers can't cover. Their linebackers are pretty sorry, if I'm being honest here. They're pretty sorry.
Well, what they are probably going to do is they're going to play a lot. They're going to be in nickel and a lot of dime packages to match up with Ohio State, because what they're going to do is they're going to dare Ohio State to run the football. And they're going to dare them to run against that stout front, especially with the tape that they put out in the last game. So Ohio State's going to have to get creative in the pass game to scheme some guys open. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a lot of kind of nickel and dime in the defense. Take a 5-yard pass here, 6-yard grab here, 8 yards. There's not going to be that 40-yard down the field touchdown.
Yeah.
Unless they're able to get the running game going, there's some play action there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Will Howard's going to have to take a lot what the defense gives him.
No, and I'll be okay with that. Like again, like when I watch them, I've watched, I think 5 of the games over the last 2 weeks. Where defensively, I think we all know where. Like I think that defensively, Ohio State can take advantage of them. Simply because I outside of one game you watch this year, people watch this year, you're not beating Ohio State by just running the ball down all game. You like on average, you're not doing that.
Yeah,
and also shout out to my guy Cam on Truther on X. He points this out to a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't understand this. Just because you see Michigan do it doesn't mean you could do it. Because a lot of that has to do with Ryan Day has a mental block called Michigan in his head right now. Let's just call it what it is. Call it what it is. And then on offense, the reason I want to harp on their linebackers so much is this reason. In the Big Ten has really good linebacker play overall. And during the season, you didn't see Ohio State really run a lot of slants from the inside. Like go back to 2018 where you see Ryan Day run a lot of crossing routes. He ran a lot.
There's not as many crossers or mesh plays. They ran some slants early on against like Marshall and
exactly.
But
it's going to work every single time.
Exactly, Akron.
Yeah, Akron. I think a game like this would benefit Ohio State having Jeremiah on the inside because those linebackers have to see him. They have to. Emeka's a really good, a great wide receiver. He's not a burner. Cardell.
I think they need to get Igbuka involved a little bit more too.
Well, they need to. But listen, man, if Ohio State were to go out in this game from the get-go and show that they want to pass the ball, I'll be completely happy with it. I would prefer that we went with a Ryan Day mindset of screw the run game, use the pass game to open up the run game, than vice versa.
Yeah.
Especially against this team. I think they're ranked right behind us in rush defense.
Yeah. No, they're very good.
The ball is not going to be easy for these teams in this game. And as cliche as this is, yes, I think it's going to come down to the offensive line, of course, and the quarterbacks. And my question for anybody would be, which quarterback, O-line, and wide receiver core do you trust more to win the game?
Personnel-wise, right now, I would say Ohio State. I would say it's close. And also, the worry for me is the coaching staff. Just going based off of what we saw last game. But at the same time, you and I both know this. The talent on the field, there's not a question which team's more talented. It's Ohio State, and it's by a pretty decent margin as far as the talent. But it's how you use that talent. It's how you scheme that talent, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I am worried about the special teams. I'm worried about the kicking game specifically, both kicking and punting.
Oh, I don't want to see us kick it, dude. If it ain't 20 yards, don't kick it, dude. Just don't.
I could see Ohio State going for it on, as far as 4th and 5 if the field goal is, longer than 35 yards.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the right play.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be very, very curious to see how aggressive Ohio State gets with trying to block punts, because they've had some success with that this year. And that's a play that can shift the whole momentum of the game. So if Tennessee doesn't come prepared for that, that could be a major X factor in the game.
No, I completely agree with that. I got nothing to add to it. I completely agree with you on that. You couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to talk about here before we get out of here, you gave I know we both gave a really early prediction when we first heard this matchup come out. We're officially in game week, so my thoughts have changed, but I still don't have a 100% final prediction nailed down.
Okay.
What do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
And by the way, I think the line is actually at 7 now.
Yeah, the line's moved a bit.
Give me Ohio State 26.
26.
Hold on, one second. Give me Ohio State 23, Tennessee 13. I didn't have us covering at first. I didn't.
I didn't either. Mine was my initial prediction was 24-21 Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go with the same score that Ohio State had against Penn State. I'm going 2013. Upon further reflection, I think it's going to be a little bit of a lower scoring affair.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ohio State's defense they might give up a score early, but then after that, I see them pretty much locking it down. I don't see Tennessee getting in the end zone more than once.
That's how I have it.
Yeah, and I trust me, I'd be more than happy if Ohio State scored more than 21 points, but I don't, or 20 points, but I don't. I think it's going to be a little tough. What I could see happening is them starting to, they get down in the red zone and all of a sudden they stall out a bit and they kick, short field goals and they're able to make those. I'm talking 28, 27 yards, not 45 yarders. I don't want to see Jaden anywhere near a field goal that long after what we saw against Michigan. So, anything else you want to hit before we head out?
I would say like my biggest fear though is that all season Tennessee's pass game has been a little broken, right? My worst fear is that Josh Heupel and Nico get together.
When they do succeed in the pass game, they do have some big play capability, but it's usually one or two shots a game, and if Ohio State stops those shots, they're gonna be okay. But
if you listen, I'll be okay with pass interference and holding if you stop the big play. I'll take those 15 yards.
It's not as penal as in the NFL where it's spot foul. It's 15 yards. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this right now. They're going to go ahead and have Davison is probably going to have, one or two pass interferences in this game. That's just what Igbenogson does. But we'll see what happens here. I see you're putting some trolls out there, but
whoa. Listen,
that's absurd. That sounds absurd. Yeah.
Boosted, I don't know if you watch Buckeye football, man, but 200 rushing yards ain't happening.
Yeah, that's not happening.